What's happening, guys? We are here. We are live. Welcome back to my channel. You guys already know what it is. First and foremost, big up to everyone locked in. Friday vibes. You know how it goes, man. 4 p.m. we are here, and boy, we got a bit to talk about because I want to hear everyone's thoughts. I'm hearing a lot of different opinions, and you guys know inevitably what is going to be the topic of discussion. But we also got some Eric Ten Hag press match conference stuff to talk about. Some injury updates on some players. We're going to talk about that as well. And then, of course, tomorrow's game against Burnley, another 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday. Hopefully, I can't believe I'm saying hopefully, but hopefully United can get 3 points. You guys know what it is. Be sure to hit the like button. Excuse me. Be sure to subscribe. We've got some new emojis as well in the chat. So if you are a member, check them out. Check out the new emoji that we have. Let me know what sort of emojis you would like to see here on the channel, because I'm always open to some new ideas. You guys know what it is. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. You can join the membership club if you want. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content as well. Now, I thought today would be just a quiet day in the United world of news, but Marcus Rashford hasn't allowed that. I'm not saying it's his fault at all, but I've been debating this with so many people. It's been going off in the UV chat. We've been debating it. And I think that there is a fine line between, I think the lines are actually blurred between what is deemed as criticism and what is deemed as abuse. Now, we're going to talk about some past players because a lot of people want to bring up the topic of past players. That abuse was never justified. It was never warranted. It should never have been allowed. Simple as that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a bit about Harry Maguire, Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard. In recent years, a lot of players who have been subject to criticism and abuse. It was never acceptable. And abuse should never be acceptable. Criticism, I think, is warranted when you're talking about someone's playing ability. When you're playing against people's, you're talking about their playing ability. You're talking about, their ethic, all of that stuff. Criticism is always warranted, but abuse is not. Let me just be clear on that. I can say that I've never insulted a player in a way that would be deemed abusive. I've never done that. And I know a lot of you guys actually haven't done that either. I know some people, you guys, in the heat of the moment, people might say stuff, but a lot of the things that we've discussed here on the channel has always been criticism. It's always been criticism. And I think with this Rashford thing, this is where we're kind of trying to figure out, where is the line drawn? Where is the line drawn between criticism? Is it when it gets a bit personal? Is it there that we kind of deem it as criticism? I'm not too sure. This is the first thing I'm going to start with. I know he's not a player at all at Manchester United anymore, but this was a player that was subject to a lot of abuse, not just from fans, from pundits, from media, etc. And some of the criticism, I think, when it came to a footballing aspect of stuff, it was absolutely warranted. But this guy here, Paul Pogba, was criticized for his haircuts, his hair colors, dancing in the dressing room. He was even criticized once by Sky Sports, which is for me where I kind of drew the line. He was criticized on Sky Sports. I think it was Ryan Giggs or Neville. I can't remember exactly. I think it was Giggs at the time. New Year's Day, United were playing Arsenal, and he posted a video on his Instagram story. Paul Pogba posted a video on his Instagram story, and he was in a car, and on the screen, on the TV in the car, he was watching Quran recitation. And basically, Graham Souness, Giggsy, whoever was in the office, in the studio at Sky Sports at the time, was like, "What is he doing? He should focus on, playing football instead of posting stuff like this." He couldn't practice his religion peacefully because he was criticized for that. What did Marcus Rashford do? Marcus Rashford posted this tweet, and he obviously, I remember these lot had a good relationship. Rashford, Pogba, Lingard, and all of them guys. But this is one thing that when I was trying to find stuff, because there's been times that I've been at United games and I've seen it. I remember 2 years before Pogba even left, last game of the season at home, he was booed off. He was booed off going down the tunnel. People were giving it the good into him, but telling him, "You're shit, leave the team, blah, blah, blah." And he's saying to them, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." That was abuse. And at the time, it was deemed as abusive. But at the time, people wanted him out of the club. They wanted him to leave. And this is not, unfortunately, it hasn't been something that's been minimized just to Marcus Rashford. We've seen a trail of it. Marcus Rashford came out in support of him. and said, Manchester United is family. Paul Pogba is a huge part of their family. You attack him, you attack all of us. That was in reference to Sky Sports. That was quite critical of him at the time. But like I said, he's always been, Marcus Rashford has been supportive of that. Even when Lingard was, criticized and abused. I'm not going to use the term criticize. I feel like the term criticism has been overplayed out in the last couple of days. I feel like it's been overplayed out. Big up to Ash says, what has Rashford said? Not gonna lie, I haven't read it. We're gonna get to it. Another player that has had a lot of, again, abuse and has never been warranted. Harry Maguire has been criticized again for his playing style, his football ability. I always draw the line at when you start abusing him and you take it personal. People were sending abusive comments to his sister, I remember, on Twitter at one point, atting his sister. People were sending abusive comments to his parents on social media, his siblings, all of that kind of stuff. This was from when Harry Maguire was notified that he was stepping down as captain. Now, this for me is a pinnacle of Harry Maguire's career at Manchester United. And that's why I particularly picked that to bring it up on the screen today, because he was criticized heavily and abused heavily. He had, I can't say the word, but he had, them type of threats being sent to his house. For what reason? It can't be because of football, because football is not to that level of abuse. It shouldn't be to that level of abuse. It shouldn't be. I'm not going to say what sort of threats he had at his house, because, I ain't trying to get demonetized, but if you guys know, he had a specific type of threats sent to his house, and police had to get involved. That is where you should be drawing the line way before that. Criticizing Harry Maguire as the captain, as a leader, okay, cool. For his playing abilities, how he plays, he might not be the most agile centre back, okay, cool. But abuse, and when you take it personal and you start taking things personal and insulting people for their appearance, you start targeting their family, their friends, all of that kind of stuff in the world of the internet, which we live in right now. And it makes it easier to do all of that, especially because players are a lot more accessible now. I mean, I saw someone compare, and we're going to get to it. I saw someone comparing Rashford's situation now to Beckham. They're not the same. All Beckham had to do, Beckham had to deal with abuse at football stadiums, yeah? And the tabloids. Manchester United fans were behind David Beckham. And he was getting abused by countrymen. It wasn't his own fan club. It was his countrymen that were abusing him. Again, not because it's justified. I'm not saying it's justified, but I want people to understand the difference. Manchester United, the manager, everybody was complete. The fans were fully behind David Beckham after that incident when he came back. I think it was World Cup, if I'm not wrong. Marcus Rashford finds himself in a different situation now. People have been saying in the chat that they haven't had the opportunity to see what has been said. I saw it last night. I can't lie, I didn't think it was going to be this big of a topic. I didn't think it would be this big of a topic, but this is what was said by Marcus Rashford, quoting a Twitter account, United Paradigm, said, the way Marcus Rashford is being treated is absolutely disgusting. It's cruel, it's abuse. Marcus Rashford quote tweets it at 12:36 a.m. saying, I appreciate your support. It's abuse and has been for months. Enough is enough. Enough is enough when it comes to abuse. But I hope Marcus Rashford isn't that naive to think that there is not an issue here this season that has warranted criticism. And that's why the title is, where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line between criticism and abuse, personal targeting? Where do we do that? Where at what point do we say something is abusive, but something is criticism? I think criticism is saying Marcus Rashford ain't tracking back. That's criticism. Criticism is saying Marcus Rashford is being greedy by, taking on free players and trying to go for goal. That's criticism. Criticism is positive when you're given alternatives. So for example, criticism for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with being critiqued in life. I think that's a part of life. When you have a skill, when you have an expertise, I think being criticized by people, unless it's there's a specific term for it, but it's like supportive criticism, where they're giving you advice. It's just not unwarranted criticism. And a lot of You know, I call myself this. We are sofa coaches, guys. Sofa coaches. We coach constructive criticism. There you go. Thank you, Riri. I just it fell out of my brain. But this is what I was trying to say. Constructive criticism for me is always supportive, and no matter where you are in life, whatever you do in life, wherever you work, what you study, all of that sort of stuff, constructive criticism, I always welcome it. I always welcome it. I always like to hear how people think I can improve my content, give me ideas on things that I could do that they would enjoy, etc. And I think with Marcus Rashford, the world that we're living in right now, the social media world that we're living in, everyone gives criticism when it comes to sports. Everyone, let's be honest, everyone gives criticism when it comes to sports. A lot of it might not be constructive criticism. I mean, I saw on the overlap, they were sitting on the overlap talking about Marcus Rashford a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was his brother that came out saying, you know, you guys, when you want exclusives, you have no issue with approaching us, but instead of, you know, all the stuff that you said on the overlap, you could have come and said it to Marcus Rashford. I'm just paraphrasing, but his brother said something along those lines. And I think sometimes that, you know, Marcus Rashford has had a hit on his back ever since, and you lot might not agree with me on this, but I feel like ever since he took on the government, when it came to the during COVID, if you're not from the UK, during COVID, when all the schools shut down, there's a thing called free school meals in primary schools and high schools for kids. And a lot of people in the UK, especially in certain parts of England, live under the poverty line. So he took on the government to ensure that even though kids were no longer in school, that they were still able to receive free school meal during the week, because a lot of kids are living under the poverty line. And from then on, he put a target on his back when it came to the socially elite people. I'm not talking about football for a second, guys. Let's put football aside. When it comes to abuse, Marcus Rashford has been abused since then. He's had a hit on his back. That abuse should not then trickle into football and people start insulting him. I've seen people insulting his head shape, bro. That's mad. That's mad. That's a bit unhinged. But the abuse should not be trickled in to football. And that's why I say there's a fine line between criticism and abuse, because sometimes I feel like the abuse that Marcus Rashford gets, it's not justified. Sometimes I even say it here on the stream, and sometimes you lot don't agree with me when I say that I think Marcus Rashford's a good player. He's just still raw, and I'll be honest, the criticism this season is deserved. It's deserved because he has been beyond poor. Eric Ten Hag touched on it in the press conference earlier today. He touched on he was asked obviously about Marcus Rashford and that tweet. I saw people having an issue with him being awake at 12:36. You know, being awake. Why is he tweeting at this time of the morning? Sometimes we forget people are human. Sometimes we forget people are human. And that's why I want to know, where do we draw the line? Do you think, because I've seen people trying to justify the abuse that he gets. And I think there is never any justification for abuse. Not Harry Maguire, not Paul Pogba, not Jesse Lingard, not Marcus Rashford. There is no justification to abuse players. I've seen Bukayo Saka play poor for a run of games. Arsenal fans didn't abuse him the way that Rashford did. And I said this ages ago, guys. I said this I think a couple months ago. I said Marcus Rashford should leave Manchester United. I said Marcus Rashford should leave Manchester United because the situation is getting toxic. You don't go and play a game at Wembley in a semi-final of a FA Cup and get booed off by your fans as an academy graduate. That is not it. That shouldn't run. That shouldn't run. And that just shows the fans are disgruntled, and I think the fans have given up on Marcus Rashford. I really think they have. And especially because of the year that he had last year. You know, you can't have a good year last year and follow it up with the crap that has been this year. You can't do that. Plus, you know, off the pitch stuff, the Belfast incident, the interview that he did a couple months ago, as well. There's been multiple stuff. There has been multiple stuff that has led to probably Marcus Rashford putting out this statement. But Marcus Rashford, for me, cannot be deaf to the criticisms that are coming from the football aspect of stuff. Now, I will never say, oh, Marcus Rashford plays like he's got one leg, or he does this. I will never insult him physically. I wouldn't do that. I might question his IQ. I might question his footballing IQ because of his decision making, but that is warranted because of the decisions that he makes when he's playing. when fans question what he does, I think it's warranted because they are seeing it in front of their eyes on the football pitch. And that's where I hope the message doesn't get lost in this whole conversation, because this discord, can I say, this discourse has been going on all day online, all day. From last night, I went to sleep last night, it was being talked about. I woke up this morning, it was being talked about. I took a lunch, I was having my lunch, people still talking about it. Getting ready for stream, people still talking about it. This is gonna continue to talk. And I think what doesn't help Marcus Rashford, I big up to UV all the time because they just make it easier for me to get. I don't have to make my own graphics. I just steal them from Owen. So shout out to Owen for that. But I think what probably made everything worse this season was the interview that he did a couple months ago. Because what did he say in that interview? He said, "If you doubt me, okay, but if you support me, basically, you're gonna see. You're gonna see, basically." I'm paraphrasing again, but he said something along those lines, alluding to the idea that, you know, if you doubt me, then tough luck. You're going to see that you should never have doubted me. And since then, he's gone on to, I think he hasn't scored. I don't think he's scored since then. Maybe, did he score once? I think it was the City game, maybe. I think it might have been the City game when he scored after that interview, and then he just hasn't scored since. It's been a difficult watch for Marcus Rashford. And I think the best thing that could happen for him and for the club is if they part ways. Now, I don't want that to happen because you lot know I like a love story. You know me, I like a little love story. I like the academy to club legend story. I would love that for him. I mean, he's in, I think, top 10 most scored goals for Manchester United. Can we say that? He's in the top, like he's been what, 8 years? How long has it been since he made his debut? If he stayed at United, he would have well on been playing 16-ish, 17-ish years, maybe, if he'd retired at 35. I would love a good love story, but I don't think that love story is ever going to happen. You know me, guys. Like, I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a hopeless romantic, and I would love that for him. And I always talk about the passage from the path, from academy to first team, where, you know, the next generation of academy players are going to be looking at Marcus Rashford's progress from academy to first team. A lot of academy players will look at that for influence. And let's be honest, Marcus Rashford is probably the biggest academy to first team player in the last 15 years. If we're being really honest, since the class of 92, there hasn't been a player like Marcus Rashford that has gone from the academy to the first team. You lot can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm happy to be corrected if you feel like, you know, there's a player out there that I'm talking about their impact in Manchester United has progressed since the class of 92, and then, you know, Marcus Rashford in recent years. I don't think the will that Kobe might be in 10 years' time, we might be like, Kobe's the best academy player to come through in the last, you know, couple decades. We can argue that definitely, but that's something in the future. But criticism, I'm gonna reiterate it again. Criticism is always warranted. I want to see what the chat is saying. Let me scroll up. Let me scroll up what the chat is saying. Big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Big up to Dipesh says, taking it personal is going too far, but these footballers are trash, Maguire and Rashford, and there's too many excuses for their performances on the pitch. You know what? Yeah, this is an interesting statement. This is an interesting statement because for me, I just want there to be a line between criticizing performances on the pitch and taking it personal. That's it. I mean, we're talking about Rashford here, but Maguire was receiving bomb threats to his yard. How is that acceptable? How is that okay? And I said it at the time. I said it at the time when it happened. That is not acceptable. You can criticize someone's footballing ability. You can think that they're not good enough to play for your team, but sending threats to hit someone's yard, I told you, that's where the line has to be drawn. That is where the line has to be drawn. First thing is, we never know what Rashford has received until he speaks out. Anything to his family is abuse, I believe, and attacking his person beyond football, etc. I agree with Ash. We will never know what is done to Rashford, except for the things that we see online. There might be things more personal that he's experienced. You know, maybe his mom, his parents, you know, his mom, his siblings, or someone being targeted. We won't know until he speaks out. But I 100% agree that attacking anything past football, that's personal. That is personal, and that should not be the case in football. And people feel like, oh, I pay for matches and I support this club through thick and thin and I pay for TV license and I do this and I should be allowed to do that. No, you shouldn't be allowed. That doesn't justify abusing someone past what they are as a professional. So for example, guys, I will give you an example and you might not agree with me, but teachers for me are always kind of, you either meet a good teacher or you meet someone who's not good at teaching. In high school, I had my fair share of teachers that I didn't think was good. But you don't abuse a teacher personally and start targeting, them on a personal level because you don't think they're a good teacher. You don't do that. You criticize the way that they teach. You criticize their teaching style, etc., etc. If you have a job, guys, and say you work in a supermarket and you stand there scanning stuff. People are buying stuff, you're scanning, and someone thinks you scan too slow. If they say to you, oh, you're scanning slow, that is them criticizing what you're doing for your job. But if they start insulting you personally, that's abuse, right? It wouldn't stand. You could actually call the police if I, for example, work in a supermarket, guys, and I'm sitting there scanning, and someone says to me, you are scanning slow. Like, are you any good at your job? You need to do this, speed it up. Okay, cool. But if they start targeting me personally and they start insulting my race or they start insulting my religion or they start insulting me as a person physically, how I look, that is abuse and that is not warranted. And I hope that makes sense in this context for Marcus Rashford and for every other player who has had to stand by and be abused by their own fans in the last couple of years when it comes to Manchester United. And I've spoken about a few of them. I think Marcus Rashford, like I said, last year had a great season. This year, complete opposite, complete 180. And fans might feel let down, especially because of the big contract that he got, but let's not pocket watch at the end of the day. You know me, I always say let's not pocket watch. But fans might be let down because of that. But again, that doesn't justify abusing him as a person. I can't believe people are justifying the abuse that he might have gotten. Like I said, Paul Pogba's abuse was never justified. Did he disappoint us on the pitch? Yes. Was there times that he was wasteful in possession? Yes. Was there times where, he let us down? Yes. You criticize his football. You criticize what he does on the pitch. You don't criticize him as, saying, I used to see people insulting his wife, saying that she was like an ex-crackhead or something like that. And then he basically married her. People used to take it personal, insulting his mum, his father at the time. You can't tell me, no matter how much you might dislike Marcus Rashford, you cannot say to me that is justified. And like I said, that is where we need to understand where the lines are blurred. Where does it become abuse and where does it become criticism? And I really hope, I know people might disagree, but I really do hope you lot do agree with some parts. Mental struggles are a thing, and we must always give some grace because no one knows what any of us deal with daily. He is struggling mentally outside of football, then he needs to take a step back. I think he's even struggling like in football. I think I've said this, guys. If you watch the channel all the time, I've been saying it looks like Marcus Rashford been playing through an injury all season. Like, he looks like a guy who is physically broken. Now he's mentally broken. He looks like a guy who when he was jumping out of tackles and he wasn't jumping in for 50-50s. What was I saying? I was saying this is a guy who has been playing through injury and does not want to get injured. Because the last time in a year that he played through injury, what happened? Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we lost the Europa League final. Abuse, left, right, centre. After he had been playing through injury, him and Martial, both of them. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer never came out and said anything. And I think this is another situation where he is playing through injury. So evidently, he is struggling. He is struggling on the football pitch. I back in I think October, I was saying that he should be dropped. I was saying that he should be dropped. No one can tell me, that Anthony is better than Marcus Rashford. Can I just say that? I know this is not related, but no one can tell me that Anthony is better than Marcus Rashford as a footballer, because he's not. He is absolutely not. I don't agree that Anthony should be abused. I always say that. I think Anthony's not a good footballer. Me saying that he should leave the club is not abuse. Me saying he should be sold is not abuse. But once I start taking it personal, that is when I'm being abusive towards him, and I wouldn't like to do that. I would just like to keep it football, keep it PG, keep it football. with Marcus Rashford, I've said this time and time again, he should leave this summer. 80 million. If United get a bid for 80 million, let him go, because the situation is just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse and worse. I know worse is not a word before people come for me, but the situation is just going to get worse. And like I said, there seems like a big disconnection between him and the fans. There seems to be a big disconnection. And I feel like once you lose the fans, it's very, very difficult, especially from time they got a song about you. Like Manchester, Marcus is red. They have a whole song about you. You are Manc born and bred. That is meant to be the biggest boasting line for fans, that their star of the team is Manc born and bred. And now fans feel disconnected from him on a footballing level. The only way it gets better, I think, for the club and for him is if he leaves. He's still got years left in football. I'm sure he can still perform at a high level. I don't doubt that. And people, again, you lot might not be agreeing with me, but I said out of Bruno and Rashford, I would sell Rashford, not because I think Rashford is the worst out of the two of them. I just think that Rashford has A, 100% profit for FFP purposes. B, I think he'll be easier to sell in comparison to Bruno Fernandes. I don't think it'll be that easy to sell Bruno unless you're selling him to Saudi or something. So for that reason, excuse me, I would do that. But abuse is never warranted. Let's just be clear with that. There are hundreds of players who play at top level that have to deal with what Rashford deals with. He's the only one who goes on Twitter every few weeks to complain to get sympathy points. Is there anything wrong with him complaining though? Is there anything? The gimmick is that every player experiences this at a top level, but they shouldn't. That's my point. They shouldn't. They should not. This is not normal. Do you think Vinicius shouldn't be racially abused? He shouldn't. That's not normal. That's abusive. That should not be the case. It shouldn't happen. Vinicius comes and cries about it in press conferences, and he complains about it, and he takes a stance against it. It should not be the case. Just because 100 players at top level football have to deal with that, it's not acceptable. Not abuse. You can't tell me, I'm sorry guys, I am not buying it, that abuse is acceptable just because every other athlete at top level deals with it or has to experience it. It's not part of life. It's not part of life. It's like when if you're famous, people say, oh, you know, when you're famous, like privacy is non-existent. It is. You should still be allowed to have privacy if you are a actress or if you are a musician or whatever. You should still have privacy because aspects of your life didn't choose to be famous. And that is the same with football or sport. If you're an NBA player, a golfer, whatever you are, flipping Olympian, it's not justified to be abused. And it will never, to me, it will never be, for me, be justified. And that's where I can't find the middle. I can't find the middle ground of what is acceptable and what is not. I feel like obviously everyone has different opinions. Everyone will have different opinions. But I don't think I can see through the same glasses that maybe other people can see. Honestly, I don't see it. And obviously Marcus Rashford speaks about it. I mean, Paul Pogba never spoke about it because the whole flipping world could see what he was putting up with. The whole world can see him having a hit on his back from Sky Sports, from Talk Sport, from anything that Graham Souness could get near. Paul Pogba never had to speak about it because everyone saw it with their own eyes. Vinicius doesn't have to talk about it because everyone can see how he is abused. Harry Maguire didn't have to speak about it because people saw the abuse he was putting up with. Marcus Rashford, someone said it earlier in the stream, we will never know the abuse that he's put up with on a personal level because we don't know that. We don't know that. But like I said, criticism in football is warranted. Abuse is not. Personal hits are not. When things get personal, that's where, for me, I draw the line. It's everywhere, Mina. In France, it's worse. I can imagine how bad in France it is. Trust me, you don't have to tell me in France is bad. I can imagine. I know people who play football in France, and I know, you know, things that they've had to experience. Like, I know that. Big up to Liam, says, seriously, I swear down, people have a myopic view that it's only Rashford who goes on Twitter. There are elite athletes doing the same as Rashford every day. I think maybe it's just because it's Manchester United and it's, you know, the biggest, like, everyone's going to talk about it. Everyone's going to talk about it. I think it's Paul Ince played in Italy where he got abused by his own teammates. That does not mean it's okay. That's what I'm trying to get at, guys. Just because other players had to deal with it doesn't mean it's okay. It shouldn't be accepted. Italy, for me, I can't speak about experiences in Italy because I have been to Italy as a black person. I have been to Italy as a visible Muslim. That's all I have. I don't have to speak about that. That's it. So it's not okay. And that's the point that I'm trying to get at. Just because Paul Ince played in Italy and he got abused, and this person got abused in France, and this person got abused in Spain, does not mean it's okay. And does not mean other people. Are you guys telling me if I get bullied today, yeah? If I get bullied today, you have to get bullied today because I got bullied and I had to deal with it? No, that's not how life works. It's never okay. And maybe that's where we're trying to kind of understand it. I guess that's where we kind of understand it. Let me see what else the chat is saying. Big up to Ed says, if he's been threatened, racially abused, or his family being targeted, I have sympathy. Anything else, like it or not, public figures have to accept it's part of sacrifice of being famous. Like I said, anything, and I agree with Ed here, anything that's personal, I do not agree with it. But if it's aimed at your footballing, because, for example, I'll give you an example. When Marcus Rashford was criticised, yeah, after his whole thing, his little, I don't want to call it, his shenanigans in Belfast, that was because people were already questioning his work ethic and his commitment to the club. So I understand where the criticism comes from for that. People were criticized for that. But I remember people went on a wild goose chase after that. When he was criticized, when he did the interview with the Players Tribune, people criticized the timing of the interview. People criticized some of the stuff that was said because some of the things he said relating to football wasn't really backed up by the season that he was having. So I totally understood it. When he started talking about his family in the interview, people said he was trying to gain sympathy. When he was talking about the experiences of his mother raising her kids by herself and working 3-4 jobs, and him taking buses to when he spoke about his upbringing, people said he's trying to get sympathy. When he comes onto social media and says stuff like this, people say he's trying to gain sympathy. Simply speaking about your experience as Marcus Rashford, people will think that you're trying to gain sympathy because they assume because you are in the spotlight as a black man who earns X amount of money, you should be able to deal with the shots that come fired your way. That is the assumption. Take race outside. Let's take race out of it, actually. Because I don't want to make it a racial thing, because it's not. Harry Maguire had to deal with it. Jesse Lingard had to deal with it. They had to put up with this kind of stuff. And it was never, ever acceptable. I don't want to go on this too much because obviously we could talk about this for hours and hours. I've been talking about it all day. I just don't want to dwell on it too much. It should never be personal. I agree. So it's just coincidence that once again, after another performance where he shows zero effort, he uses this to deflect again. Say this stuff when you're playing well. I mean, when you're playing well, people ain't abusing you. That's what I don't get. Okay, let me ask a question to the chat. Yeah. Ollie's the year that we got knocked out of Europa League, yeah. Then what happened? I think after that he went on to miss the penalty, all of that kind of stuff at the Euros, and then he had a comeback season under Eric Ten Hag, yeah. Well, I was calling it redemption season. Under Eric Ten Hag. Would you have preferred for Marcus Rashford to make comments like this on the back of a good season? Or would you have personally preferred for him to continue just playing football at a high level at the output that he was last year? Which one would you have preferred? Would you have preferred for him to allude to this kind of stuff when he's playing good? Or would you not want people to speak about it when it's happening? Because all he's saying here is it's been abuse and it's been for months. Enough is enough. What is he saying? I want to know. That's so wrong. What has he said that's so wrong? I feel like people are clutching at straws at it. And I said it before in the stream. If you've just come through, I said it before in the stream. Marcus Rashford can't be that dumb or blind where he thinks he's having a good season. He can't be. So I know for sure he knows that he's not having a good season. And I'm sure he knows that the criticism is warranted. I can't doubt that enough. As a professional athlete, you know why criticism is happening. But I really do think there is I stand on it. I really do think that there is a fine line between that criticism and abuse. I really do think that. Eric Ten Hag was asked about it in the press conference today. Inevitably, they were going to ask about it. He said, I have a lot of sympathy for Rashford. Of course, last year he had a brilliant season. I think the best season in his career. He scored 30 goals. This season, he didn't give the performances and people have been very critical. We have to back him and everyone should back him to get back to the levels of last year. I think he needs the support. We all know what he's capable of. We all have to support and push him. He can do better than this year. We saw last year when he was really brilliant. It seems like Ten Hag hasn't touched on anything to do with abuse. He said it here. He said, he didn't give the performances and people have been very critical. Literally. He said the only term he used is critical. That's it. That's the only term that he used. He didn't use the term abuse. He didn't use the term bullying. He just said critical. It's as if Eric Ten Hag knows himself that the criticism is warranted. And he's, again, maybe he himself is trying to figure out the fine line between criticism and, you know, taking it one step further. And it's interesting because he does say, I have a lot of sympathy for him. He says he's got a lot of sympathy for him. And he can clearly tell that he's struggling this season. It's clear as day that Marcus Rashford is struggling this season. And this is my question to everyone. Keep or sell Marcus Rashford in the summer? Keep or sell? Bear in mind, there's a report that came out today. I think it was the Mirror that said, and I never believed this kind of stuff, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it, but they said that United have to have net revenue of 100 million for the summer transfer window. So for the summer transfer window, they have to sell to buy. Simple as that. And I think Marcus Rashford will be a player that maybe they might look at selling. But sometimes I'm very torn between the two, guys. I'm very torn between the idea of selling him and understanding why the club might keep him. I mean, they just gave him a big salary. And I don't think they give you big wages if they don't see you in the future. I mean, right now, it was reported that Anthony Martial was never going to play after January if he didn't get an extension. And it's very clear that if the club don't want to keep you, they will let you leave. And I personally think Marcus Rashford's PR for the club is bigger than what we think. Not justified because it's not about PR, it's about football. It's about what you do on the football pitch. But I think that there's a lot of selling points and loyalty from the club to Marcus Rashford. You know, coming through the academy, etc., for what he went through with the academy coaches as well, who speak so highly. They spoke so highly of him as a youngster and his family. I think that I can see why they might not sell him in the summer. You lot are all saying sell. Isaac says keep. Liam says keep. I'm in two parts about it. I don't want him to be sold because I think he's crap. And I've sat here time and time again. You lot have cooked me. You lot have cooked me in the chat because I said that I think Marcus Rashford is a good footballer. I said that I think Marcus Rashford is a good footballer. You lot cooked me a couple weeks ago. And I said I have no doubt that he would go and flourish. Put him in I don't want to say it, but put him in rival teams, he would be decent. He would be good. He would be better than what he is right now. Put him in a system that brings out his positive traits. He would do good. But I think, and I've said this time and time again, since Louis van Gaal, I do not think that Marcus Rashford has taken a step from his talent to exceeding it. I don't think he's been coached to a level to exceed the talent, the natural talent that he has, because he is a talented player. And that for that reason, I'm like, well, if he leaves, I would get it. And I've said this situation looks toxic between the fans and him, that it might be better to just kind of part ways with him. Not because I want to, but because I just think the situation might not get any better It might not get. This might be the decline of this really might be the decline of Marcus Rashford this season. This might be the beginning of the end for him at such a young age. At such a young age. He's only what, 27, I want to say? I want to say he's 27, maybe 28, if I'm not wrong. So he still has a number of years. This should be his prime years of football. Like this should be his prime years of football. 26, so he's going to be 27. He's approaching his prime. I seen someone say, who is it? Marcel. I need to cook Marcel. Marcel needs to come here and I need to hold him accountable because he said he would take. Marcel listed a bunch of players for a replacement of Marcus Rashford, and he said, and I was like, bro, how can you say Musiala? They don't play in the same position. He said Wirtz don't play in the same position. Then he said Matoma or Rafael Leao. Rafael Leao on the pitch, in terms of how frustrating he is to watch, he's not that far off from Marcus Rashford. I saw Milan fans frustrated with him for practically most of the season. Most of the season. I think there was a stat saying that he hadn't scored in a number of months. He was on a goal drought. And can I say that a lot of this, you lot might not agree with me, but you know them social media accounts, the football ones that post, oh, this person got this number of goals this season, Marcus Rashford has 0. And I keep seeing it about Marcus Rashford. Like, he's like the hit on everybody. He's the target for all these accounts to be like, Foden has this many goals in 2024, Rashford has 0. Or this defender has this number of assists this season. Marcus Rashford has X amount, that's less. It's dead. It's dead. He's in his prime now. 24 to 30 is most footballers' primes. I think it's because he also came onto the scene at a young age. Like, he came onto the scene. How old was he? He was what, 18, 19 when he came on? He was young when he came onto the scene. So it was 17 or 18, I think he was 18 at the time. So he's been around for so long, and I think maybe that's why people feel like what's going on, you know? Once his pace leaves, he's finished. It could be scary. Rashford is very inconsistent, hot and cold. At his age, he should be at his prime years, but he's not. Rashi is a bad example to the youths coming through. Look at Garnacho liking tweets already, and he's barely 20. We're rewarding shit, and we wonder why we're shy. Come on, what? Rashford is a bad what? He's a bad example. Come on, now we're just clutching at straws, guys. Now we are just clutching at straws. Come on. Saying he's a bad example is. He's an example of working hard at a young age gets you through to the first team. I think that's how young players might look at it, because they're not going to come to the first team and be like, you know what, I'm going to do what Rashford did now that I'm here. They're not going to do that, because their pathways and his pathways are going to be totally different. Rashford might have never got his chance if Martial never got injured. Van Gaal gave him his debut. He might have never got it. I always wonder what's the biggest domino effect for football? And one of them is that for Marcus Rashford. But even Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez is another domino effect. Who is it? I think it was Leno that got injured, and then he came and he played. And that led to him getting to the Arsenal team and then leaving to go to Villa. Before that, he was playing, League One or something on loan. From Villa, bam, won a World Cup. Domino effect. So Marcus Rashford, his life could have been completely different had Anthony Martial not gotten injured. It could have, absolutely that. I think it's wild to say that he has an influence. He's a bad example. Bad example is a very, very, it's a very hot term to use to describe it. And Show is saying that he agrees with Koala, saying the version of Rashford you see now is not a good example for young players. Promoting poor attitude on the pitch. I don't think he's promoting it. If anything, if you're saying Rashford is promoting poor attitude on the pitch, yeah, why are the staff still playing him? Isn't that promoting poor attitude? That is showing players that you can play bad and you will still get an opportunity to stink up the pitch. I think criticism should be in that direction if we're talking about promoting poor attitude on the pitch. Talking about coaching staff, Erik ten Hag. First, he goes on a rampage last week in the presser. He's firing shots. Today, banned 3 sets of journalists or 3 outlets. from asking questions. So they were allowed to attend the press conference, but they were not allowed to ask questions. So if you lot don't know, this is how press conferences usually go. Manager and the media officer will walk into the press conference, and normally they go to the rights holders first. So Sky Sports, TNT Sports, whatever. Normally it's predominantly Sky Sports. They'll go to Sky Sports first, then they'll go to like BBC and the big rights holders in the UK, and then they'll go to the wider media teams like the Athletic, Daily Mail, Mirror, the Sun, all of them guys. And if they have time, they might go to the smaller media outlets. They might go to maybe if there's a fan channel there, maybe if there's freelancers there, etc. They might go to them, but you're not guaranteed to always get time. So that's how normally the structure is. Yeah. And normally, can I say, the media manager, media officer, whatever, will know said journalists on a first name basis. They'll know each other on a personal level. Today Erik ten Hag banned reporters again. I don't know if it's do you think that let's get through this and then we'll get to the questions. Erik ten Hag banned reporters from The Sun, the Manchester Evening News, and the Mirror from asking questions during his pre-match press conference today. Now, I don't know what the reason was, but it was reported that it was to do with pieces after the Coventry game, posts online after the Coventry game. I mean, Samuel Luckhurst has been going in on Erik ten Hag. Like, if you want to say there's a witch hunt from a journalist, it's Samuel Luckhurst. I think he's still rattled about being banned completely from a press conference a couple months ago. And apparently after a press conference recently, maybe a week or two ago at Carrington, straight after the press conference, they rounded up all the journalists and put them on a bus and took them off like Carrington campus. That is funny. But for me, this is where I'm thinking, okay, is the manager protecting himself, or is he protecting what is surrounding the team when it comes to media, when it comes to click pieces online? Because people who have been very, very on Erik ten Hag is the Sun are on everybody, can I say? They're onto everyone, but Erik ten Hag definitely a lot bigger. Manchester Evening News, like I said, Samuel Luckhurst has been on him like a rash. And the Mirror, who has been posting stuff. A lot of the pieces I've been seeing in the last couple of weeks has been, oh, Erik ten Hag could face the sack if this happens. Oh, Ineos are not impressed with Erik ten Hag on this. Oh, he's losing the dressing room. Some of the players, are, questioning his ability, and some players are now deciding not to play good because they know he's not, like, they don't care anymore because they know he's not going to be here this year. That's a lot of the pieces that we're seeing. Do you guys agree that managers or media teams should have the option to do this, because it maybe limits the level of access or the level of, I would say, depth that these journalists can write on in their article? Because I think I don't know if maybe what Erik ten Hag says gets lost in translation, and they maybe manipulate it to come across as a good byline that gets clicks. But I don't know why you ban people from asking questions. But then again, if people are doing you dirty, then as a manager, should you be allowed to do that? That is my question. Should you be allowed to do that? I remember it was after the Coventry game, he came into the press conference before Sheffield United game, and I think he apparently said good morning to people, because they said good afternoon to him, but it wasn't afternoon, it was morning. And he said good morning, and he was like, yeah, some of you lot, you basically ain't got your head screwed on. And they were like, who you alluding to? And he goes, a few of you guys here. Like, you don't pay attention. And he's Erik ten Hag is tired of these journalists. I think in particular he knows the specific ones, because Carl Anker, Andy Mitten, what's the other guy called? I forgot what his name was. Laurie Whitwell. They all cover Manchester United. Yeah. But they don't do it the way these lot do it, if you lot realize. They do simple analysis articles. They don't really do in-depth ones after his press conference. They do in-depth ones after the game, analyzing the game, breaking down the game. They don't really try to get clicks like this. They are news. The Athletic is news. They write stuff about news. I feel like Manchester Evening News, The Sun, etc., they're tabloids. If you're not from the UK, tabloids are like, I don't know what's the equivalent in America of tabloids. They're like the TMZs and that. They just want what sells. what gets people talking. Because what happens? Samuel Luckhurst will post something about Eric Ten Hag. And I am guilty of doing it before. I don't do it anymore, but bam, people are doing videos about it. People are doing streams about it. Samuel Luckhurst knows it gets people talking. The fan channels there's hundreds of Man United fan channels. There's many Man United fan channels. They will all talk about it. Streamers will talk about it. Content creators will talk about it. Everyone's talking about it on Twitter just from one thing that Samuel Luckhurst has said. And it's based on his sources. So I get why Eric Ten Hag may have banned reporters from asking questions. But I don't think that should be the case. I think what would be better is if the questions are vetted by the media. Because the media officer, their job, his or her job, is to protect the manager, so the manager is not blindsided by anything. That's their job. So I think if you have journalists that you have an issue with already in this particular situation, there is nothing wrong with vetoing the questions before the press conference. So simply they provide you with a list of questions that they're interested in asking, and you say, yeah, this one you can ask, this one you can ask. Cool. And if they try to ask anything that has not been approved, then Eric Ten Hag can say no comment. But people might not agree with me on that. I mean, it's the same as when you interview footballers, guys. I've interviewed a lot of footballers, and you can't just ask them what you want. Because if it was the case, there's so many people I would just ask them what I want to ask them. I've interviewed a lot of players, and before you interview them, you have to have a list of questions. You give it to their PR team, their agent, whoever it is that you're liaising with, and they approve the questions that you ask. Now, press conferences are different because it's a regular occurrence. United have had how many press conferences this week? In the last 7 days, United have had 3 press conferences. This is the 3rd one. So it's maybe a bit more difficult to do that. And it's a lot more difficult to go through, 10, 12, 13 journalists who have questions to ask. But this just does not look good to Eric Ten Hag. I was about to say Marcus Rashford by a while. Marcus Rashford got me on my head 24/7. Atom K says, yes, I feel managers should have the right to do it. Show says he was rightly asked if it was an embarrassment to give up a 3-0 lead to Coventry, which he was, by the way, couldn't handle it. So has now banned the people who asked. He's not the first manager, can I just say? He's not the first United manager to ban people from coming to press conferences after hearing a question that they might not like. Let me just say that. But I don't know, man. I for me, it's like Eric Ten Hag over the last couple of weeks in his press conference. Let me see what else actually people are saying. I don't have a problem with it because these guys never actually talk about football. Facts. I like to hear in press conferences. I might be in the minority. I like to hear about, after a game, especially, ask a manager about why he did X, Y, and Z tactically. What made him do that? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to hear about in a press conference. People don't want that because that's not what sells. After, the Liverpool game in the FA Cup, people were asking Eric Ten Hag, oh, how does it feel to, stop the clock? I don't care about how he feels about that. I want to know why he decided to change his tactics against Liverpool after parking the bus against them previously, and he decided to play out counter-attacking football. That's what I want to know. I want to know the tactical breakdown behind decisions that have impacted a game. They don't want that. And it's like I said, it's the world that we live in right now. Unfortunately, it's sad. I don't mind if I was a manager. I wouldn't want to talk to people who have an agenda against me. You know what though? Instead of banning, he could just say no comment. Like when you're arrested, you got your lawyer next to you. Your lawyer just tells you say no comment, no comment, no comment. If you don't want to answer a question from someone, banning people from asking questions definitely does seem like when you ban someone, it makes it seem like you're taking things personal. And you know what? Eric Ten Hag's human. Eric Ten Hag is a person. So the same narrative that we're having about Marcus Rashford and players being abused could be the same discourse that we have about Eric Ten Hag. Because these lot are picking on him. I mean, Eric Ten Hag came to Manchester United last year, 2 games, lost his first 2 games and was interrogated by Carrington and Gary Neville. I've never seen a manager interrogated to that level, can I say? So I understand why Eric Ten Hag could be annoyed with the questions that he's getting. I totally understand that. And again, it's not warranted. Like I said, media officers need to do better of like sieving out stuff. But also, can I say, Eric Ten Hag I'm seeing in press conferences reminds me of Jose Mourinho when he was losing his job. When he was coming out and firing shots at people in the press conferences, that was my favorite. Can I say that was the funniest era of Jose Mourinho at Manchester United, when he was coming out and saying, what was it? 2 for them, 3 for me. Respect. One of the greatest press conferences in modern times from a manager. But that's when you knew he was rattled. He was rattled. United were playing crap. He was losing the dressing room. He was falling out with players. Of course, people are going to ask him, are you falling out with this person? You benched Pogba. You benched Rashford. You benched this person. You benched, Lukaku, etc. He was falling out with people. Jose Mourinho knew he was losing the job. And that's, I think, the first sign at Manchester United when managers come out firing shots in press conferences. And some people, can I say, like, I know for a fact, people that are pro Ten Hag, who want him to succeed, I know people are saying, yeah, Ten Hag should be doing this. I'm just saying that I think there's an argument for both sides. I don't agree with like what the Sun and Luckhurst and all of them guys, the way that they talk about Ten Hag, the clicks that they're getting. Sometimes you don't even. I think the only reason why Eric Ten Hag is doing this, and maybe the United's media team are obviously backing it, because they surely they have to approve it. There must be some falsehood to what Luckhurst, etc., tweet or share as news, as inside source. There has to be some either truth to it, or it has to be completely off. And Eric Ten Hag feels like it's disruptive. Exactly, Minnie. You can't be mad at getting banned when you ask questions to get a reaction. You wanted a reason, you got it. I agree with that. I'm Ten Hag out, but some of the questions he gets asked are ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I want to know tactically why United broke down during the commentary. I want to know tactically why United concede so many goals in short intervals in games consistently throughout the season. Let's talk about that. Instead, you want to talk to me about Garnacho liking a tweet. No, we don't care about that. Oh, has he been disciplined behind closed doors? What do you think about Jadon Sancho reaching the semi-final? I don't want to know about that. I don't think people want to know about that. What I want to know tactically, why do United concede so many cutbacks defensively? What is the issue? Of course, he's going to talk about, the different backlines, but that's the kind of questions that I would rather hear from journalists. Minna, the same can be said for Ten Hag is being said for the players, but it never gets said. Eric Ten Hag is being paid millions of pounds per year to coach, same as Sancho, 350k, Rashford, 350k. I'm not gonna lie, I don't pocket watch. I know I say this all the time, guys, but I don't care about what you get paid. If Ten Hag was being paid £1 an hour today, and he's being paid 50,000 a week, yeah, I will still criticize him. I don't think we should use the salary to kind of justify whether or not someone should be criticized. People will be criticized regardless of their role, and how much they get paid. And I'm not saying Eric Ten Hag is protected from criticism. I 100% he is not protected from criticism. But I'm just trying to, if you lot know me, I try to see both sides of the argument whenever we discuss something here. Because you lot always say Minna's on the fence about everything. I'm not on the fence about everything. I just don't want to influence people's opinions based on my opinion. I always try to see both sides of every argument, whether it's about Marcus Rashford, whether it's about Eric Ten Hag, whether it's about Harry Maguire, whether it's about Jadon Sancho, whether it's about Garnacho, Casemiro. I try to see both sides of the argument every single time. And that's what I try to share with you lot. And I know sometimes it might come across Minna's on the fence. Like someone said to me the other day, you're so indecisive about Eric Ten Hag. And I'm like, I know where I stand with Eric Ten Hag. Like my opinion on Eric Ten Hag, I know where it is. But when I come and sit here and talk about it, I don't want to influence people with my opinion. I want people to have their own opinion, and I want to share both sides of the argument. So that's why it might come across as people not knowing where I stand, or people not feeling like, Minna's on the fence all the time and etc. I'm not on the fence. Let's just be clear about that. But Did I have anything else to talk about? I did. One more thing to talk about before we wrap up the stream. Licha could be seen this weekend. Eric Ten Hag says Luke Shaw, Anthony Martial and Lisandro Martinez are closer to being seen on the pitch soon, before the end of the season. He says, yes, I think we will see them. Shaw, Martinez and Martial all in the season. They all return onto the pitch. Next week, they have to make the step into team training and they can be available for the last weeks. They progress well. This is where maybe my opinion differs, because I do not want to see Lisandro Martinez back this season. I don't. And I might be in the small minority. In that case, I might be in the small minority that does not want to see him back. But there is nothing worth left fighting for. Maybe the FA Cup is the only thing left fighting for. That's it. And even then, we got this far without Lisandro Martinez. Let's not rush him back. Let's allow him to have a proper recovery and return. Get match fitness. Go play with the do it. I know Timber done his ACL, but he played with the under-21s. Go and play with the under-21s for 1 or 2 games before the end of the season. Have a good preseason. Relax. You're not going Copa America. Just chill and just get back into match fitness and then return for next season, all guns blazing. Why are we rushing players back from injury when there's nothing left in the season to fight for in the Premier League? Like, let's be real. We talk about top 4, guys, please. United are finishing 5th or 6th. United are finishing 5th or 6th. Anthony Martial, I don't see the point on him playing, maybe for his own fitness, because he's not staying this season. He's leaving on a free in the summer. So, again, he's a player that has had injury problems. Luke Shaw, another player that has had injury problems. Lisandro Martinez. Mason Mount will be back tomorrow. I think he's the only player that is available in the matchday squad tomorrow that was not available last week. That's it. I think Eric Ten Hag said he's the only change in the matchday squad is Mason Mount, which again, I don't know. Why was he even out for a game or 2? We don't even know. There's no transparency when it comes to Manchester United injuries. But Lisandro Martinez has been on the unfortunate receiving end this year of injury crisis. I will honestly say it's an injury crisis, because you do not get 2 or 3 injuries the way that you had. He got an injury at the end of last season, was out until preseason, came back first 2 games of the season, got injured again, came back in November, got injured again, came back in Feb, got injured again. That's 3 injuries. That's an injury crisis. And I don't want it to be a 4th where he gets another injury because we've rushed him back for, I don't know, Newcastle, or we've rushed him back for Arsenal. I don't want that. And I personally would. I know FA Cup is a big one. Final, it's a chance to win another silverware. Absolutely, it's a big deal. But would you want not match fit Lisandro Martinez against Manchester City? Like, honestly, just say yes or no in the chat. Would you want someone who, when he played against Brentford, he was scaring me? He was scaring me. He had just come back from injury. So would you want someone that's only been training, from what Eric Ten Hag has said here, train for a week and then make the step into the last couple weeks? Would you want someone that's only been available for a week or been training with the team a week or 2 before they're available to play against Manchester City? Again, I would prefer if, I don't know, Varane would be available. I would like Varane to be available. I'd like Evans to be available. He's our best player. We need to let this notion go. He's a good player. He was an important player for us. He was our best. He was Man United's best player last season. He's not our best player. He was our best player last season. This year, he's been injury-ridden. And I think we need to be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves. I think Lisandro Martinez is a great player, but I'm very worried. I'm maybe worried that he might have lost a step because of these injuries. And injuries can do that to you guys. Injuries can definitely do that to you, especially with the number. The guy has had... I'm going to transfer market. That's it, guys. I'm looking at how many games he's missed on injury. Because at United, it's not been normal. At United, it's not been normal. Yeah? He went at Ajax. In his entire career at Ajax, he missed 2 games in 2 seasons to injury. One was just a knock and one was an unknown injury. Then he missed a number of games in that year at Ajax with his national team. He missed 10 games with them. And then, since joining Manchester United, he's missed 12 games with a metatarsal fracture. That's the injury he got last year. Then he's missed, this season alone, he's missed 36 games and counting. Yeah? Over, I want to say, 170 days. Over 170 days, he's missed 36 games and counting in one season. Let's let the notion go that he's our best player. He was our best player last year, but it's an injury crisis. He's got 3 different injuries for 3 different places. Can I say that? A foot injury, a knee injury, and a calf injury. That's 3 different injuries. And then last season it was a metatarsal fracture, so that's another foot injury. He's the same guy that has not had any injuries for that long. In the entirety of his football senior career at since 2019, he's missed about 13 games across I want to say 3-year period. Yeah, across a 3-year period, he's missed 13 games. That is worrisome. And that is no blame on Lisandro Martinez. Can I say, you as a player can't control your injuries. And I think that also reflects poorly on Manchester United's medical staff. I definitely can agree that reflects poorly on Manchester United's medical staff, because you can't avoid, especially like contactless injuries. You can't avoid that. It happens. In my language, yeah, we say qadar. It was written for you. And it will happen. But what advice are they giving the players and Erik ten Hag, where they feel like they can come back from injuries so quickly just to get injured again? Luke Shaw is another Luke Shaw for me is another example this year in particular, who has been in and out of injuries. He's another guy who has been in and out of injuries. Let's see what his injury record is saying in this year. We know that he's had injuries in the past, but this season alone, he's missed about the same number or near enough. He's missed like 8 games less than Lisandro Martinez. A muscle injury, leg injuries in the past, hamstring injury, ankle injury. He's missed injuries and they're reoccurring ever since he had that big injury. Ever since he had that big injury, however many years ago it was, I can't remember. But ever since he had that big injury, it's not been the same. So let's let this notion go that Lisandro Martinez is United's best player. He was last year. If he's fit and on the pitch, who's better player than him? I couldn't tell you, because he hasn't been fit and on the pitch this season. When he's been on the pitch this year, he's looked like he's missing a step. He's looked like that. And we can be honest. I think, and someone mentions it here, yeah, Licha is a 6 now. Or inverted left back. I don't know if he would fit the profile that United are looking for as a 6. I don't know. I don't think he would fit the profile, but he could definitely play, I think, as a fullback. He could definitely play as left back. He's played there in the past as well. I don't want to say he's injury prone, because you don't know how injury prone someone is until they become injury prone. But I definitely think it's not worth rushing him back. I do not think it's worth rushing him back. Mina, if Arsenal bid 100 million for Rashford, would you sell him? Nah. Nope. Would you guys sell him for 100 million? I wouldn't sell him. He has to, if Rashford is leaving Manchester United, he has to leave the Premier League. Unless he's going to like a Bournemouth or something. He has to leave the Premier League. 100%. I don't want to see him at another club in the Premier League. And you guys cannot actually say that you don't care about him not joining a rival club. There is no way anyone says that they agree with him joining an Arsenal or a City or a Liverpool or whatever. Like, absolutely not. I will sell him for 40 million if we could. I think same person, Thamir Al Harbi, says you are defending Rashford. Oh my god, how have I defended him, guys? I can't win. If I criticize him, people say, oh, you're being harsh. If I say he shouldn't be abused, people are saying you're defending him. Where's the line? Where's the line? For me, price tags. Give me your price tags in the chat for Rashford. Welcome anyway. Welcome to the community. That does look like a new person in the chat. So welcome to the community. Big up to everyone. Let's see. I haven't checked likes or stream, guys. Let's try get the likes to 50, guys. Let's try get the likes to 50. If you want to join the membership club, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel as well. If you want to do something for free, you can just like, you can just subscribe. If you want to send in super chats with your thoughts, with your comments, with your questions, all of that kind of stuff, you can do that as well. 200 million to PSG, 300 plus to rivals. He's just what? Come on. Who in their right mind is ever paying 300? Who is paying 300 million for Rashford? Who PSG wouldn't even be dumb enough. Come on, man. Put some respect on Nasser Al Khalifi's name, bro. That guy will never pay 200 million for him. Never. They spend that much on a Neymar. You think they're gonna Super Scud? I think you're on crack, bro. I'd sell him for 50. For me, I think 70 is the starting price. 70 million is the starting price for what I think Rashford should be sold for. I think Rashford could definitely go for more than that. I think Rashford could go for more than that. I think I said 80, but 70 for me is the minimum. The minimum. We paid 85 for Anthony. Yeah, because we were the stupid club. We were the dumb negotiators that paid 85. We were the dumb negotiators. Ajax were laughing to the bank, literally laughing to the bank. PSG wouldn't give us more than 70. I mean, they spent how much on Kolo Muani? So, and he's younger than Rashford. So that has more of a selling point, I would say, for him. A bag of Chris. Come on, you lot are being mean. If that's for Rashford, Palmer is $1 billion. I don't think that will ever be the case. For me, 70 million is the starting price. 70 million is the starting price for Rashford. Anything more than that, I think it's up to 100. People are saying 120. I've seen people saying 120. And I think there's when it comes to selling a player, I think a lot of factors play into it. I think obviously what the club value him. So the club could value him at 100 million starting, but they might want 120. So I get that the club is responsible for the valuation. It's not about us saying what is he worth. I'm saying about what do you think he could be sold for. So if 120 was the price tag, I wouldn't say that's absurd, but I do think a lot of people would kind of balance out their opinions to try to decide whether it would be worth buying him for that price, if that makes sense. 75 million is enough. I think 70 is the starting price. That's why I said 90 for Rashford. 90 ain't too bad. 90 is not too bad. We paid 86 million for Anthony. PSG paid 77 for Kolo Muani. Rashford is better than both of them. Facts. But you know what is the correlating factor here? Manchester United and PSG are dumb when it comes to negotiating fees. That's literally it. We paid 70 million for Rasmus Højlund. We don't know how to negotiate. So all you like saying, we need to sell Rashford to PSG because they will just throw money everywhere. I don't think they will, especially with Mbappe leaving. I think they might go on a crazy buying spree this summer. But I also think it will change how they build their starting 11. That's just my opinion. Who would buy 70 million? Who would buy 70 million for Rashford? I don't think 70 million is a crazy price. You look at can I say, you look at what Chelsea have done to the transfer window, right? How they've overinflated the transfer window. They brought that Mudryk guy. They spent 200 million plus on an entire midfield. Chelsea overinflated the transfer market. Plus, on top of that, players go for big fees. Vardiol, 85 million. City spend money like it's literally water. Like, woof, they've got it like it's nothing. 70 million, I think, in the world of football right now, I'll be honest, I don't think it's a lot because I just feel like the time, like 70 million now is not, it's a lot of money because if you give me 70 million, guys, that's changing my life. But in the terms of transfers, I don't think 70 million is what it used to be. Like when Ronaldo went, I think it was like to Real Madrid for like a crazy price tag at the time. People were like, wow, oh my God. But football has evolved, you know, inflation, all of that kind of stuff. I don't think 70 million is a lot. I don't think that's, now you lot are probably thinking Marcus Rashford is not worth 70 million, or okay, that we can debate. We can debate that. But I don't think 70 million in a world where Mudryk cost that much money, he's ass. In a world that Chelsea spent $1 billion in 2 transfer windows, 70 million can't be that much. 70 million can't be too much. Joshua says, as a Chelsea fan, we spent 300 million on a midfield without a TM. Caicedo, Enzo, and Lavia are all eights. I feel like Todd Bowley, and I said this back in the summer. I said that Todd Bowley was just running around getting like just buying everyone. You know, like me in when I'm playing FIFA. When you lot watch my FIFA streams, my EAFC streams, I just run around buying everyone. That's what Todd Bowley did. That's what Todd Bowley did. Good question here from Ridwan says, Rafael Leao's release clause is 150 million. Is he much better than Rashford? Go on, everyone in the chat, say yes or no. Say yes or no. Is Rashford better than Rafael Leao? Because from when I watch Rafael Leao, I see inklings of what he does that Rashford doesn't do, but then I see a lot of what people get frustrated with Rashford on what he does in Rafael Leao. So again, release clauses are what your team value you at. That's not how much you're worth. That's not your price tag. That's what the club value you to be. So I don't think so. If Rafael Leao's got a 150 million release clause, here you go. I caught you lot out. If Rafael Leao got a 150 million release clause, and Marcus Rashford is better than Rafael Leao, does that mean Marcus Rashford is worth more than 150 million? That's the question there. That is the question for me. Mina, the biggest problem is his wages. To get the fee isn't crazy, but most clubs can't afford those wages. I think the only way that United would ever offload him or just anyone on big wages is if they pay some of the money. If they pay out some of the wages, which I think was the argument they were having with West Ham about Maguire last in the summer. Excuse me. I think the biggest argument they were having was, or the biggest hurdle when he was linked to West Ham was the wages. I think that's what it is, and that's why things from the previous, I'm just gonna say regime, but the previous football directors, all of that stuff, it will take some time, I think, for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos to kind of undo all of that. That it will take a lot of time to undo all of what has been done. That's some amazing mental gymnastics with that question there. Still 50p for number 10. You lot are harsh, man. You lot can't win. Quickly, before we wrap it up, predictions. Scoreline, Burnley. Are we playing home? It's just another match day, man. I'm not joking, guys, but I just feel like I'm watching Manchester United. We are playing at home at Old Trafford. Then we play again. At least why is there a big gap? Oh, we play Monday Night Football for the first time in a long time. I can't remember the last time we played Monday Night Football. We played Monday Night Football against Crystal Palace on Bank Holiday on the 6th of May. I'm not being funny, guys, but have we played Monday Night Football this season? I generally don't think we have. But of course, I think it's also... Is it Champions League this week? It is. It is Champions League. Yeah, it's Champions League this week. And then that week after as well. Burnley, predictions. 5 games and this shit season will end. I can't wait for the season to be done, honestly. Like, but I've said this since October, so I've been saying I can't wait for the season to be over. It's funny because right now I'm trying to see if there's any news about Burnley's scoreline, about Burnley's like the squad, and I click Manchester United versus Burnley news, and everything is about Marcus Rashford. Everything is about Marcus Rashford. Literally every article, The Guardian, BBC, The Telegraph, Manchester Evening News. And you lot don't even get access to the press conference. How are you still writing articles? How are you still writing articles? Why do I care about Ryan Giggs apparently is going to be a dad at the age of 50, bro? What the hell? Yeah, let me come off this. And back to actual football talk. Burnley versus Manchester United predictions. Currently 6th in the table. United have to win. North London derby. on Sunday, which I think will be a big one. I'm going to say 2-0 United. But to be honest, I said 2-0 United against Sheffield, and it was not that. But I'm going to say 2-0 United just because I feel like 3 p.m. kickoff at home against the team fighting relegation. How bad are they off? But that relegation battle, that relegation scrap is crazy. That relegation scrap, Luton is the only one guaranteed to be relegated, I think. Luton is the only team, not Luton, sorry. Sheffield is the only team guaranteed, but on 16 points. Burnley are on 23, Luton are on 25, Forest are on 26, and then Everton are on 33. I hope that means Everton are safe. Sheffield are definitely going down. It's going to be between Forest, Luton, and Burnley. Let me see what Burnley have been saying for their last couple games. Burnley's last couple games, they've got some results. They beat Sheffield 4-1, drew to Brighton 1-1, lost to Everton 1-0, drew to Wolves 1-1, drew to Chelsea 2-2, beat Brentford 2-1, drew to West Ham. So they ain't lost a lot of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They've lost 1 in their last 7 games. They've lost 1 in their last 7 games. And I know that they've drawn a lot, and they've lost 1 in 7 games, and they've won. They beat Brentford, and they beat they lost to Bournemouth. So damn, they've drawn a lot of games. So maybe they could get a draw. Maybe they could get a draw. They get draws away from home. They got a draw away from home at West Ham. They got a draw away at Chelsea, who just capitulated. I don't know how Chelsea drew that game, but they just capitulated. But I'm sticking with 2-0. Steffi in the chat said, where are the goals coming from? Goals are going to come from, I will say, Garnacho, Højlund. Garnacho and Højlund are going to score. Although, I don't know if Garnacho will start. I think if Rashford is dropped again, if he's still out injured or whatever it is, I would like Ahmad to play. I would like to see an Ahmad and Garnacho thing. But, you know, that's just wishful thinking. That is just wishful thinking. Koala said something in the chat that I can't see for some reason, but I can see here. I can't see it, but Koala says in the chat, who do you want to win the league, by the way? Arsenal. You lot can shame me for that, but I definitely Liverpool ain't winning. Liverpool ain't gonna win. So if it's between Arsenal and City, I don't want it. City will do 4 in a row. Yeah, City will do 4 in a row. This idea that City fans do not exist, they exist because I know people from Manchester who are City fans. A lot of people I know from Manchester are City fans. Obviously, there's a lot of United fans, but I also know a lot who are City fans. Manchester United in their lifetime have never done 4 in a row Premier Leagues, even under the greatest manager. Why would I want Pep to now do that? Pep will go on to win 6 in 7. I don't want that. Okay, I have to put up with Arsenal fans being a bit unbearable online and all of that stuff. I don't really know. I know like 3 Arsenal fans. 3 of my friends are Arsenal fans. That's it. Majority of the people I know are United fans and Chelsea fans. I'm sorry, but history, we might not, you lot are saying we might not remember because there's no fans, but history will remember. And of course, they got their court case. City got their court case, and they could get stripped off their titles, all of that stuff. But I don't care. I don't care, and it's not disgraceful for me to say that I want Arsenal to win it, because I couldn't care less. I would care if City won it, doing it 4 in a row. I would care if Liverpool won it, Klopp going out on a high, another title under their belt. I wouldn't want that. So that's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. But big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. We'll be live tomorrow after the Burnley game. Post-match reaction. You guys know what it is. As always, went way over time today. Way over time. But I don't mind. I don't mind. Be sure to hit the like button. Let's try to get 50 likes. We're a few likes away. Let's try to get 50 likes. If you're watching this back, be sure to hit the like button as well. As always, I want to hear your thoughts. If you're watching this back, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section, especially about the big debate that we were having about Marcus Rashford. I will be back tomorrow, as I mentioned. What time? Probably like 5:30 UK time. It'll be around 5:30 UK time after the game. Hopefully it'll be a positive stream. Should have another stream tomorrow evening as well, followed by a vibe along Manchester United women versus Leicester women on Sunday, I think at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock. I don't even know. I need to double check. And then I might do a watch along for the derby as well, because you know what? I might as well. You guys know what it is. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, whatever you lot get up to. What am I up to today? I am off to a wedding later this evening, so I need to get ready for that. Big up to everyone. Be sure to hit the like button on your way out. As always, it's your girl Mina. I'm out. Peace.